Hello, my name is Kaylee Marks, and this is my video blog for a course I'm doing with Prescott College. It's in the adult degree program, which is a distance learning program from Prescott College. The course is called Positive Multigenerational Civilization Engineering, and I just want to share the um, uh, description. So if we had a chance to start over and redesign our current civilization from the beginning, keeping in mind everything that we've learned up until now, but correcting all our mistakes, what would it look like? What systems would carry over and which ones would we scratch? How could we guide our current civilization into this ideal design? What obstacles would we face during implementation, and how many generations would the plan for implementation span? Our target model would have to harmonize with the various global leaders. We can't aim for a utopia. We have to work towards sustainability. So the objectives are obviously to gain an understanding of the current events, of a forecast of what direction the planet is going, of the spirit of the planet or the zeitgeist, and then to develop a multi-generational plan for creating a harmonious civilization. So just to share with whoever's watching this, what what my path has been so far in this course. This first month and a half it's been pretty much exposure. I kind of realized how out of contact with current events I was. So I started with the Zeitgeist film series by Peter Joseph, which I'll include the link in the info about this video. And he has 3 films in the series right now, and a 4th is coming out. It's a really fantastic film series. The first one starts off talking about religion, moves on to 9/11, moves on to the central banking system, etc. Then I watched the 3rd one in the series called Moving Forward, which is my favorite. It covers everything from genetic disposition towards violence, the nature versus nurture argument, and it goes all the way into the future of this question I'm asking, which is how could we design the perfect, or not the perfect, but the functional, needed society that we're lacking today. And he came up with a really fascinating thing working in hand with Project Venus, which is a series of ideas for how we could live together in a more harmonious and a more sustainable way. And he talks a lot about a global resource-based economy. So he implements these 3 systems, or he says these 3 systems would have to be implemented. A global resource management system, which keeps tracks of the planetary resources that we need to survive, where they are, and in what quantities they're available in. Then through strategic preservation, we track our rates of use and of the regeneration of resources to make sure we don't run out. Then you have the global production management system, which is an optimized, sustainable production system based on demand, using strategic safety to grade resources on their harmful or destructive effects, avoiding negative retroactions, using strategic efficiency to design all our goods to last as long as possible, to design with reuse or recycling inherent, foreshadow and accommodate physical updates. For instance, electronics through the standardization of parts to make them exchangeable, which really hits home with me as far as currently it's not profitable to make something that lasts, because then our clients don't come back to us and continue to buy, but it totally trashes everything. Global demand and distribution tracking system is the last of these systems, and it functions like a lending library. Strategic access will be the basis for this system, allowing everyone, everywhere, to access the goods they need in an efficient manner. Distribution must minimize transportation access across long distances, so we must localize production whenever possible. If certain goods cannot be produced locally, only then should long-distance transportation be employed. And basically the two categories of goods for the humans are core life support items and social and recreational goods. This whole system is really fascinating to me. I think it's a huge part of the puzzle piece, and I hope to dive deeper into it after going through this course. One last thing about the zeitgeist is the central banking system. That was probably the biggest wake-up call for me. The fact that the central banking system creates money out of thin air because they choose to. They lend it to the banks with interest attached, and that interest doesn't exist. That interest hasn't been made by the central banking system yet. Then the banks put it into circulation, everyone uses it. That means that if the United States government were to pay back its debt to the central banking system, the interest that we have and have accrued wouldn't exist yet. So they would have to create that money for us to pay them back. So that was a wake-up call for me to realize that we're in this completely fantasy system. Playing with paper money doesn't stand for anything. And then he brings up the example of before on the dollar bill, it was exchangeable for gold, and now it's legal tender, which means absolutely nothing. So then I moved on to Chris Martinson's lecture, which again I'll link down here, about oil and peak oil. And it was really fascinating to me to be pretty much just shown pure data, pure fact, statistics, and charts and actual findings. It was very scientific, and pretty much any country that's ever reached peak oil never comes back. So once production increases and declines, it's not ever going to go back to the same production. So pretty much most countries have reached peak oil or are reaching it. The United States has definitely gone down. Globally, as a global civilization, we've gone down. So globally, we've reached peak oil. The other thing he talks a lot about is this idea of exponential growth. He gives a great example, which I'm not going to be able to reiterate, but basically, if you're in a football stadium and you have a special molecule of water that when you drop it on the grass in the center, it splits into two, those two into four, those four into eight, and so on and so forth, doubling like that. That's the idea of exponential growth. At one point, the stadium's going to be half full, and then it's going to be completely brimming over the top due to the theory of exponential, the doubling. Therefore, he shows many statistics based on humanity's exponential growth, and it's shocking. For instance, I'm 22 years old. In my 22 years, more oil has been burned than in the entire history of humanity's use of oil in 22 years. So that's an example of exponential growth. So this is exposure again. I've been watching the news, North Korea, Syria, Iran, Israel, just trying to get more of a bearing on current events. I wanna understand more what the problems we're facing are and try and understand why, which isn't an easy thing to do, but also the presidential elections. Read into Ron Paul a bit, especially because of his desire to audit the Federal Reserve, which is really interesting. And then I go to a Kung Fu class, and Kung Fu is really about the development of responsible citizens in a society. So I've been learning about the benefit of being an ordered, disciplined, and ethical citizen, and trying to put certain practices into my life, into my everyday life. We talk a lot about not arguing. We talk a lot about approaching every situation with the desire and the goal of doing it, of interacting with it and doing whatever tasks we have correctly, and that's where beauty and perfection lies, is in doing something how it should be done. And more I'm seeing that we don't take responsibility for our communities in a personal way based on our behavior in our households. And one of the things that my teacher is always asking us is to start in our house and to work on cultivating these qualities: honesty, loyalty, of being a moral person, but in a disciplined way. So yes, that's been my exposure. I'm going to post another video of gauges for how to determine what the current zeitgeist is. So the exposure is to kind of understand a broad sampling of problems or truths or opinions or perspectives about what's going on in the world today. Then I want to look at how to actually, in an intelligent, methodical way, go about understanding the spirit of an age, the zeitgeist, the identity, the kind of summation of everyone's perspectives and opinions about where the world is, and what the world is, who the world is. So I'll post that soon, and